All right. Well, thank you for everyone joining us here today. I know that we are just underway for our first session here of 2022 for our Moving Beyond the Coronavirus Economy series. And I am so thankful to have with us Mr. Aziz Badra with Band of Hands, who's going to give us a great presentation today. And before we jump into it, if you're new to tuning into our sessions, we try to do these a few of these every month to help continue education for you, for your expanding business, your expanding franchise, and bring you relevant topics to just be thinking about and considering for your business and your business growth. All one housekeeping item: if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, check us out. We are starting to really grow, which is pretty incredible to see. And we will have this on rebroadcast here in a few days for you. Lastly is our weekly podcast called Multiply Your Success. We'd love for you to subscribe wherever you enjoy your podcast, whether that's iTunes or Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you listen. So with that being said, my name's Tom Dufour, the CEO of Big Sky Franchise Team, and we're going to get things started with Aziz giving us an overview here of Band of Hands and talking about employees, contractors, and giving us a really nice overview on how all of this works. So Aziz, go ahead, take it away.
Hi, Tom. Thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity to work with you guys, to meet you, and to be part of the Big Sky franchise team. It's really an honor, and I'm really happy to be one of your first guests here in the new year, especially, as you said, in this kind of post-COVID, recovering, getting back to work, and especially with businesses. We're based out of San Diego, and there's tons of businesses that are still hanging by a thread for so many different reasons. And it's difficult. It's difficult. So this is what we're all about. We're all about helping small businesses. I've been a small businessman for 35 plus years myself, and I don't think there's ever been a more difficult time for a small businessman than right now today. And your franchises are basically small businesses. So we've really looked at small business franchises and decided that this is the perfect way for us to get into small businesses and to help small businesses, especially now, thrive and get through this whole post-pandemic or current situation that we're all in in the country. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and just go through some slides. I'm not going to bore you with a million slides, but I'm going to share some really important information, some really important statistics that I'm not sure I didn't know. And the more that we started to dig in and the more that we started to find out, the more we went, wow, this is really, really amazing. So I think your viewers, your listeners, and hopefully yourself also, you'll find this very interesting. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the screen from you. Okay, there we go. Band of Hands. So this is our company where small business works. Grow your business by getting rid of your employees. I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. It's really true. That's exactly what we do, and what we can do for the companies is help them grow, help them get their business started. But get their business growing by having less or no employees. And I'll explain to you how that exactly works. So first of all, who am I? My name is Aziz Badra. Been in San Diego since 1966. I've got about 35 plus years of business experience, been all over the world. I think last time I counted, if you totaled up the miles, I think I've been around the world about 60 times, if it was one consistent flight. So done a lot, been a lot, seen a lot. I'm a veteran, spent 6 years in the United States Army as well, had a lot of businesses and a lot of food businesses. So I do have a pretty good understanding of the food industry, which seems to be one of the hardest hit, hardest impacted businesses, especially during these COVID times. Here's some statistics. I don't know if you know or most people know, but I want to share with you. Small businesses, you guys, us, we are the backbone of the country. So if you look at the top right here, the top 1/10 of 1% that have over 500 employees, those are your Fortune 1000, Fortune 500. And then the next category where there's 9.9% that have 21 to 500 employees, these are your mid-sized businesses. So this is the top 10%. And what we have found is most of the solutions that are out there, the really good solutions, are geared toward and focused on that 10%. However, 90% of all businesses in the country, 90% of all businesses in the country are 1 to 20 employees. That's this entire area right here. And I would venture to guess that's where all of your franchises or the majority of your franchises are. That's where we are currently, and a lot of other small businesses. But here's some really fun facts. 44% of all the payroll tax in the country comes from us, comes from small businesses like us, like your franchisees. And 60 to 80% of all the new jobs come from small business. So as a group, we have a lot of power. We wield a tremendous amount of influence and power in the country. We are literally the backbone for the country when it comes to employment, jobs, and so forth. People tend to think, well, Qualcomm here in San Diego got thousands of employees, and Intuit in San Diego, we have thousands of employees. That's great, but that's that little cream on the top right here. It's not the 90%. Now, owning a small business, we say, is a two-sided coin. People get into business, why? Because they love what they do. As we have here, you're a great food and you're a great cook and you want to make great food and start a restaurant. You love making flower arrangements and things like that, whatever the case may be, or you just want to get into a small business that's profitable and tap into a success, track record like your franchises that you bring people into. But very quickly, people realize that it's a two-sided coin. It also comes with the other side of the coin that we say is everything over here. It's your HR, your compliance, your payroll taxes, unemployment claims, workers' comp claims, time and attendance, yada, yada. It's like a never ending, list of things that are part of being in business. It's something you can't avoid. And what I tell people is these are your responsibilities. These are the things as a business owner you must do. You can avoid your responsibilities, but as I've always told my daughters, you cannot avoid the consequences of avoiding those responsibilities. And when you're dealing with government agencies, the last thing you want to do is try to get around them because it's just not a fun situation. I'm going to give you two real world examples. For what we do, and you'll know more about what we do, we actually were audited here in San Diego by the EDD, the Employment Development Department. And it's like, okay, everybody gets that dreaded EDD letter or whatever the equivalent may be in the state that you're in. And they came in and did a full audit. So it took about a year. And we got the best result you can hope for. We got a no change result, which is fantastic. Okay. However, it still cost me $18,000 in legal fees to defend ourselves against this EDD audit. And we didn't do anything wrong, and I still paid $18,000. So this is what I always try to tell people in small businesses. You got to be really careful. You got to do things right, because you can avoid the responsibility of having the proper HR or doing the different things, but you cannot avoid the consequences, because once you get that EDD letter or whatever it may be, whether it's the IRS, the EDD, or an unemployment claim, whatever it may be, you're going to have to answer it, and you're going to have to deal with the consequences. So let's start with just compliance. Compliance is super complex. We're in California, forget about it. Compliance in California is super difficult, and it's becoming more difficult across the nation, because from what I read and I follow with like the Department of Labor and things like that, a lot of the laws that California is brought in, the Department of Labor is looking at bringing in on a federal level. So it's just becoming more and more complicated, and non-compliance is a nightmare. It's not a matter of if, it's when, because you're gonna get. Another short story, one of my buddies, he took the bait, he had to bring in some people. He brought in a couple of people. It was on a very, very, just part-time basis. He ended up paying them cash. It extended a little bit longer than what he had intended. And then next thing you know, there's a claim against him. It took him almost $300,000 to get out of that entire claim, because what happens is these government agencies start to hand you to the next one. Once the EDD is done with you, they pass you over to the IRS. And when the IRS is done with you, they hand you over to the state tax authorities, the franchise tax board in California. And then each one just takes a big giant bite at you. So it's not a matter of if, it's simply a matter of when. And then here's additional threats. This is some really interesting statistics. 23% of the small businesses don't provide discrimination and harassment training. Well, guess what? It's not optional. It's something you have to do. The average cost of wrongful termination, $85,000. And the average winning plaintiff judgment, $500,000. This is existential threats to small businesses. Additional, administrative errors. Now, these are the things that you didn't know, right? These are the things that most people don't realize. 40% of the small businesses incur IRS penalties related to incorrect payroll filings. The average penalty per error is 845. 80% of the small businesses overpay what they should pay it from the federal regulatory compliance. And then you have the whole Affordable Care Plan, Affordable Care Act that you have to deal with, because now you've got to give people, even small businesses, it's constantly changing. You've got to provide this for your employees. Another one that's not on here, most people don't know, is when you're filing an I-9, for example, on one of your employees, every time you make a mistake on there. And the mistake I'm talking about, Tom, I'm not talking about you left something blank. I'm talking about you didn't use the format they told you to use. And so because you didn't write the date in the proper format, it's about a $300 fine every single time. So if you have 15 employees and those 15 employees, they all filled everything out properly, but you didn't follow the format, that's potentially a $4,500 fine that you're stuck with because you didn't follow their formatting that they request. Claims, the average workers' comp claim, this is on an annual basis here. The average person filing a claim, it takes about 30 days for them to come back to work, and then slip and falls, strains, miscellaneous. It's over $500 million annually that's paid out in workers' comp claims. Workers' comp it's difficult. I know it's very different state by state. I'm speaking, more specifically toward California. What we have done and what we're doing in California is kind of like, we're building for the worst case scenario, because California pretty much is the worst case scenario from a regulatory standpoint for small business. So we've always approached and we've always kind of built it for California. On top of these waves crashing on your head, the tide is rising, okay? And what I mean by that is, this is the latest statistics that have come out. Freelancers and sourced via platforms is going up by 38%, entirely outsourced work up by 35%. So if you just take a look at this top lines here, and then you look at regular permanent employees, is going down by 13%. That's a net 50% plus difference in the workforce out there. This is where things are going, folks. This is how it's happening. People are going to platforms to source employees. Employees are finding it harder to work. As you know, I'm sure everybody out there is having the same problem the folks in California are having, we're having in San Diego, and that's finding people. It's very, very difficult. A new article I just read talked about how I forget the number, but it's several million people that were part of the workforce are no longer part of the workforce because they're getting into business. They're becoming entrepreneurs, and that's fantastic, but it reduces the workforce and just makes it more difficult to find employees. Along with these trends, so 77% of the executives believe that freelance and gig work will substantially replace full-time workers over the next 5 years, and 32%, almost 1/3 of the businesses are replacing full-time workers with contingent workers. So, instead of trying to find that one worker or those two workers that are going to be full-time, they're migrating toward having 4 or 5 part-time workers take those positions, which ultimately is actually much better for a small business. In some of the businesses that I had, I would, okay, who didn't show up today? Oh, it'd always be one person or another, and I would have to then fill in. But if you have the ability through platforms where you can source people, bring them in on a shift basis or something like that, as a W-2 employee, we feel like, hey, we really got something there, like the best of both worlds. So are there solutions to all of these different issues and problems that I'm talking about? The answer is absolutely there are. However, they're disparate and they can be very expensive. The top 10% of what I shared in one of the first slides about the Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 companies, a lot of the great services are really geared toward them because they can afford it. For example, your typical franchise is struggling, is not going to be for the $15 an hour minimum wage here in California. They're not going to be able to then go to a staffing company and say, hey, my short order cook didn't come in today, I need somebody. And they say, okay, well, if it's minimum wage, we'll bill you $30 an hour. They're struggling to pay $15 an hour. So using a staffing or sourcing company like that, it's out of the question. And then you have your payroll, you have your HR services, then you have your different time and attendance, and then you have your job boards when you're looking for people. So there are disparate solutions out there, but there's not a collective solution until now. And this is really what we're all about. We're trying to help the small businesses be able to source people, put people to work, reduce and mitigate risk and liability, and do it all under one umbrella. I got a short video here. I'm going to play for you. I hope you're able to, let me get out of the full screen. Let me hit that, click that. I hope you're able to hear this okay. All right, let me try that again. Let me stop sharing for a second, and then I'll do a reshare here.
Yeah, and this might be a good time too, just to let the attendees
Sure.
know if you have any questions or ideas or anything you'd like to add. You can type that into the chat box or save that. We will have a Q&A at the end here, so you can go ahead and type that in the chat box, and I'll make sure that, or raise your hand and I'll unmute you, and we can ask Aziz here in a few minutes.
So this is just a real short video that's going to give you a little better explanation of how things can be and how we have what we have created.
Aziz, I don't think I'm seeing this play on my end.
Okay. It says your screen sharing is paused. Let me try this again. Sorry about that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Can you see that video okay?
Yep.
All right, let's try it again.
I think,
Do you see that?
yeah, I can see it. I'm just not getting any audio, unfortunately.
Okay, no problem. The video is actually up on our website, so
yeah,
we can.
I'll pull that real quick while you're doing the presentation. I'll pull that up and type that into the chat box here for everyone.
Okay, so basically, here's what we do. Here's the solution that we have come up with. It says my screen sharing is paused. Do you see that, Tom?
No.
Let me try this. Let me reshare. Okay, how's that?
There we go. Yep.
Okay,
we're looking good.
So here we go. So this is what we do. Band of Hands, we come into your small business and we become the employer of record for your employees. And what that means legally is we take your employees and we make them our employees. It's a very simple process. The employee clicks on a link and then follows the link, and then we onboard them onto our system. So legally, they become our employee. However, they work for you, they show up, you guide them, you know, everything they do is no different than what they've always done with you, except now we are the legal entity that oversees those employees. So that means now all of your onboarding, all of your compliance, all of those different things, your I-9s, your W-2s, all of that now is our responsibility. Time and attendance, we also give you a time clock where people can clock in and clock out, and then we oversee that. So when you have your, you know, for example, your time or wage and hour lawsuits and things like that, all of that comes to us first. We also take care of all of the HR. You need a employee handbook, whatever you need, the posters, we take care of all that and we send all that out to your company. Payroll taxes and services, we're partnered with Paychecks. So we take care of all of the payroll taxes and all the payroll services. And then we also have all of our technology, which is a complete job board and automated recruiting. So we help you find those people. So just to jump to that slide that we originally talked about, you know, people don't get into business because they love HR or they love dealing with, you know, the IRS or the franchise tax board. They get in business because they love what they're doing and they want to create a business out of it. And once they do, they start to realize, now I need employees. So what we do is kind of anything and everything that has to do with employees, we take care of for you. So in all, you know, we become that one-stop shop that helps these franchises get into business, but more importantly, focus on doing what they do best, whether it's cooking, whether it's, you know, selling something or whatever it may be, and not worry about the claims, the workers' comp claims, or any of those things. All of that comes to us first. And because this is what we do, we're able to handle it in volume much better than they can each individually, including those EDD letters. You'll never see they never see another EDD letter. It actually comes to us. So this is basically how we operate and what we do. It relieves that second side of the coin from all of the franchisees or the small businesses. We take that burden off their back and we allow them to focus on what they want to do, and that's build their business. We do this all, Tom, for $10 a week per employee. That includes everything I mentioned above. That's the employer of record service. That's the time and attendance. It's everything. So this $10 a week buys you peace of mind. That's what it does. It allows you to say, okay, it changes the way. It allows you to try before you actually commit to. You can bring somebody in for a day or two and it doesn't work out. You can let them go. You don't have to worry about the paperwork. You don't have to worry about all the government stuff. We take care of all that for you. And when you find someone that's great, you just add them to your team and you can keep those people building. So instead of having 4 or 5 people, you now have 10 or 12 or 15 people that are part-time that are part of your team. No base fees, no hidden fees, no contracts. That's it. It's $10 a week per person. And here's what people are saying about us. It's really, really simplifying life for small businesses. It's helping small businesses, thrive. It's helping them deal with government and so on and so forth. So we've put a lot of time and effort, and because we're in California.
Aziz, I like the testimonial here. Love that our franchisor arranged this for us. That sounds like a happy franchisee. I like that one. That one stood out to me.
Yeah, absolutely. The funny thing is it was a franchise out of Los Angeles, and they listened to what we're doing and they said, we absolutely love this. Because, realistically, Tom, if your franchisees are not successful, you're not a successful franchisor. And so our entire focus is helping the franchisees become more successful. The more franchisees, it's very competitive. I'm sure it is. There's thousands of franchises out there that are competing for the franchisees. We just simply help those franchisees become more successful, which ultimately helps the franchisors. And one of the things that they said is that every time they get an EDD letter from one of their franchisees the first person they call is the franchisor and go, what do I do with this? That's something nobody has to deal with anymore. That's something that we completely take care of. So there's our information, our website. We'd love to talk to people, but I'd love to answer questions. I'd love to, if anybody has any questions, or Tom, do you have a question? I'd love to answer, because we're super excited about not just our company, but we're excited about what we're doing for the country, what we're doing for America. There's hundreds of thousands of businesses that have gone out of business, and our goal is just to help put those people back to work. But we're doing it with a smaller labor force. So, we're helping the workers as well, because now the workers can work at, and here's a really unique piece of this. Let's say you have a multiple unit franchisee that has 3 or 4 locations. Well, now that multiple unit franchisee can take their people, put them onto our system, relieve themselves of all these headaches and burdens. But now those employees can work at all the different locations seamlessly, with the hours being attributed to each individual location properly. So now you're able to give people, your workers, you're able to give them a full-time income, but they're doing it for working at 2 or 3 of your different, locations, as opposed to trying to give them as many as you can out of one location. So that's a big help. There's a lot of restaurants here that we used to go to lunch, for example, that are all closed because they can't, they don't have enough staff to do the lunch rush and then to do the dinner rush. So they don't open until 4 now. And it's frustrating for them because the rent didn't go down. Their lease didn't say, well, I know you're not open for lunch anymore, so we'll cut your lease in half. Landlords want their full amount. So we want to be a team player. We want people to join our team. This is kind of like it's a group effort on our part. Everybody on our team loves what we're doing because we're helping. We're helping people, we're helping small businesses. And as I said, small business is the backbone of the country. We want to see our country thrive again.
Yeah, thank you, Aziz. And one question that came in here was just asking about, if you do this is this available in Canada? Is that an option?
Not yet, but we will be. We will be in Canada, but we're not there yet. We're in all 50 states. We're registering, because this is another thing, speaking specifically about franchises. As a franchisor, especially the new ones, the small ones, want to go out there, they have to register in all 50 states to do business or to hire people with the EDD and the tax authorities. We do that for them. So when they join Band of Hands, they can actually expand faster with us than they could without us. So we do all of the registering. We do all of that so they don't have to. but
Great.
not in Canada yet, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's okay. And are you able to support, another question came in that asked, are you able to support service businesses as in addition to the restaurant?
Absolutely.
And then are you able to do independents that are not franchises?
Absolutely. So we're starting with franchises. That's kind of the lowest hanging fruit for us, and that's where we found people need the most help. And it's also a way for us to kind of go out there in a bigger way. But that's just kind of like, if you look at the marketplace, the franchises are just the beginning. Franchises are just small businesses. This solution is geared towards small business. It's not specifically franchises. It just so happens that franchises is how we're entering the market and how we're starting to grow quickly. But once we're in an area, then yeah, any small business, service related business, whatever it may be, there's certain workers' comp codes that we can't do, but they're more of your really high risk, type things. But here's what we've also found, Tom, that's really exciting. We have franchisees that have come on board that are tile and grout and do different types of flooring, and we've actually been able to, because see, when a franchise or any small business goes to your workers' comp company, these billion-dollar companies, they say, here's your rate, take it or leave it. They don't really have too much of an option. But because we work as kind of a collective bargainer, or as an aggregator, so with all the businesses that we have, we can push back against them and say, we want a better deal. So currently with a few of the franchises that we're working with, we've been able to save as much as 5%, almost 6% on their entire payroll, because we've reduced their workers' comp from 11.2 to like 4.77. So that's a huge savings. It makes everything that we're doing for them free. Literally, it turns into a profit center for them because they're saving money. But that's what we have the ability to do, because the Hartford or these big companies, if they say, well, we're going to give you a bad rate, well, I'll just go somewhere else, and we can take all of our customers and go somewhere else with them.
Yeah, great. And another question came in, just asking about 1099s, and how 1099s impact this model.
So in California and 17 other states currently, 1099s are pretty much extinct. California, we had a ruling called the ABC ruling, and then the AB5 law that has been passed. And the DOL, the Department of Labor, is actually looking to implement that on a federal level. The government does not like 1099 contractors because, generally, I'm not saying as a rule, but generally people don't, pay the amount of tax that maybe they should. And so the government does not like, at least the California government does not like 1099s. That's why they almost put Uber and a lot of these companies out of business. So what we have done, this is a solution for using somebody as a W-2 employee that would have been typically a 1099.
I see. And question that I have here, I've talked to companies that maybe are similar, but there's a clear difference. And I don't know enough about your industry to understand the difference. Maybe you could explain the difference between what you're doing, or maybe it's the same, between what you're doing and then a PEO, and
Sure.
what they do.
Sure. So your PEOs, we're similar in a sense to a PEO. However, we have similar activities, but we're not a PEO. A PEO typically is much more costly, and they're more for the companies that want to provide, Class A benefits or Fortune 100 benefits to their employees. So PEOs can typically be much more expensive, number one. And the main differentiator between a PEO and us, if you think of a PEO, they sign up companies and all of their employees are then caged or siloed with that company. With us, especially for franchises, the employees are able to work at multiple locations, to earn that full-time income and do it under one W-2. Can't do that. You can't do that with a PEO. So that's one of the main differentiators. They're very costly. PEOs are like Insperity, for example, you're going to pay as high as $250 per employee or more per month for all of the type of services that we do. Small businesses that we're targeting primarily, they can't afford benefits. If you're looking to give, like I say, the really, the high-end benefits to your employees, then an Insperity or something like that is where you want to go, but you're going to pay for it. It's quite expensive.
Okay, great. Well, and that's a great analogy, especially for a multi-unit. I previously owned a multi-unit home services business, and I know exactly what you're talking about, where new staff, and it was a high turnover industry, where it's just high turnover, lots of folks coming and going, and it's just, unfortunately, it was the nature of that industry. And with multi-territories, you've got folks kind of running between. So I can really see the value add of maybe a new person that's going to come in for a trial. They come in and maybe after 90 days or 6 months or a year, you realize, okay, let's transition. So they'd be able to then transition into this new, onto your EIN as an employer then at that juncture.
Right, exactly right. So it changes the nature of hiring. You're no longer kind of hiring and firing. My daughter worked at a place at the mall that was, I believe it was a franchise. They hired and fired 11 people in 1 month. And that's normal for them. In our case, you bring them in, you would try them. If it didn't work out, you say, don't come back. You don't schedule them tomorrow. And that's it. There's no paperwork. There's no W-2. There's no I-9. There's not that entire package you have to, the employment package that you have to fill out and then carry on your books. All of that's gone. This allows you to just bring people in on more of an as-needed kind of a, just immediate access or to employees that are willing to work. But you're doing it, we're doing it as W-2. So the state and all the regulators are happy.
Great. What other questions do you all have, or comments, thoughts, ideas that Aziz can answer while we have him?
We have a theory. I have a theory while people are writing questions, Tom, and that is part of the reason there's high turnover with a lot of the different types of jobs that maybe franchisees, hire for, is a lot of people don't want to do that one job only. They don't want to just be the dishwasher. They don't want to just do that particular job. This allows them to do that 2 or 3 days. So if you're filling that one position with 3 or 4 people, you don't get burnout. You don't get that person who, hey, there's a car wash and they're hiring and they're drying and polishing cars, 4, 5, 6 days a week in the hot sun here in San Diego. It's pretty tiring, but you still need the income. So the mindset of I'm always looking for a better job doesn't necessarily have to be that way. If you're working 2 or 3 days as working with at the car wash, and you're working 2 or 3 days as a busboy or doing other jobs, now you're able to compile together full-time income. But you're no longer a dishwasher or I work at a car wash. You're more of like a W-2 freelancer. So it allows the employees some of that flexibility that they're looking for, but that in turn helps the employers, that helps the franchisees and the small business people keep people longer.
Great. One question came in that asked if your model, if you found that this can help with the stability of employees.
The answer is absolutely. Great question. And yes, we can, because we also follow all of the mandates, the Affordable Care Act and so forth. We follow all that. So we provide benefits. We offer benefits to the employees where you don't have to. We follow the law. We give them the benefits that they're looking for. So A, from benefits, and B, the restaurant down the road that I go to often, I said, what happened to Ellie, the waitress? They said, well, we lost her because another restaurant's giving more hours. And with our program, they don't have to leave.
Yeah. Another question came in that said, would we still have to hire or would we just draw from your workforce?
So what you would do is you would post jobs on our job board. People would then apply to your work. And when you found someone that you like, they would already be onboarded to Band of Hands, meaning they're already our W-2 employee. So when somebody applies and you like that person, they can come to work 2 hours later and start working for you. And if you like them, you can put them on your schedule regularly. And if you didn't like them, you can say, thanks, but I don't think it's going to work out. Have a nice day. And there's no paperwork involved. So the answer is absolutely. As we grow and as we build across the country, we're building a pool of more and more employees, which then gives you access to more and more people too.
Mm-hmm. Great. Other questions for Aziz here while we have him? Well, Aziz, what's the best way for someone to just reach out? I know you've got that on your on your backdrop there with your email that's listed. Can you go over the website and just where folks can learn a little bit more?
Sure. Just go to our website. It's Band of Hands, plural, bandofhands.com. You can watch the video that I couldn't play for you here, and it's a very good short explainer video that'll show you exactly what and how we do it. You can watch that video. You can click on the contact us link. You can email me directly at ab@bandofhands, and we'd be happy to get back to you. We have a sales team that is, looking to talk to people. So feel free, go to our website, contact us, email on that number, right on that email address right there. Whatever's convenient for you, we'd love to talk to you.
Great. Another question came in while we were doing that. It said, are you able to offer this in not just large metros, but also in maybe small towns or rural areas?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. If you had 4 or 5 employees in a small business in a rural area, we can take those employees from you. It's not, we're not in any way geographically locked in. You can be anywhere with this. As long as you're currently in the United States and those employees are, eligible to work in the United States, we can take care of it for you.
Great. Great. Well, Aziz, thank you so much for sharing this. This is really great information, a lot of it eye-opening to see some of the data and information you shared. And I'm grateful for your time. And thank you all to our attendees for coming in and attending. And one final closing question is just about Canada again. Sounds like maybe someone's based up in Canada there. Do you have an estimated timeline for when you may be available there?
I don't have an actual timeline, but I would just say check on our website, and maybe through Tom with what you're doing, we can reach out and make an announcement that, hey, Band of Hands is now open in Canada. So we'll work together on that. But great question, and it gives me more reason to go look into Canada. So thank you.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you for being here. To our guests, thank you for being on the attending the webinar. And we have an awesome session coming next week, so be on the lookout to register, and enjoy your weekend, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Tom.
Thanks.